Welcome to my class. I hope that the video which I had made for the same chapter you have gone through, and continuation with the same chapter. Now in this video we will try to understand that what Congress has done after its formation. In the previous video I told you that in 1885 the Congress was formed by A.O. Hume, and some of the so renowned leaders become the member of the Congress. Now, when Congress was formed, it demanded various things in its first 20 years of formation. So, what were the demands Congress has made, which helped in the process of a nation in the making or nation state, that we will try to understand here. When Congress was formed, first Congress has demanded a greater voice for Indian in the government. Now, what is the meaning of that? The Congress said that in the government, the Indians also should be recruited in the higher post. Their suggestions, their ideas and their opinion too need to given care and concern in the government and the process of lawmaking. As Congress was in opinion, when Indians view their decision, their opinion the government will take, that will more better for the administration of the country. As being an Indian, what is the need, what conditions need to be improvised, that will be known better to the Indian rather than the European. So with that, the Congress has demanded a greater voice for the Indians in the government. Second, more membership in the Legislative Council. It says that in Legislative Council, during those period of time, the Indian representatives were very less. As a reason, the administrative loopholes were seen. Now it is the demand of the Congress that in the Legislative Council too, the membership should be given more to the Indian, so that a welfare schemes and the measures for the Indian should be taken genuinely. Third demand of the Congress was highest position in the government. As you know that during colonial rule, most of the high designated posts were held by the European, and Congress was dissatisfied with that. It said that such a higher designated post should be given to Indian also, and for this reason the Congress has demanded that civil service examination to be held in the country as well. You might be knowing, in colonial rule, let the Indian should not come in the higher designated post. That's why the civil service examinations used to held at England. Now it was difficult for the Indians to go to England and write this civil service examination. I'm not saying that the Indians were not going. So many are going, but their number is very less. That's why Congress demanded, if such a prestigious examination which help the Indian also to hold the highest designated post, if this examination should conduct in the country itself, it will be better. Okay. Next demand of the Congress is what? They demanded that judiciary should be separated from executive. Initially, the executive and the judiciary, they perform all their functions in the joint venture. In such cases or in such conditions, possibilities were there, they may tie up in the decision making processes. That's why the Congress has made a demand that judiciary, which give a judgment on the various issues, should be separated from the executive. Now, Congress also demanded the repeal of the Arms Act law. You might be knowing, watching through the previous video, that Britishers has imposed the Arms Act law, and which was disbanding the carrying of weapon to the Indian soldiers. Now Congress opposed that. They said that Indian too, being a soldier in the army, should allow to carry the arms. So the Congress wanted that there should be a amendment in the Arms Act law. Next to that, the Congress demanded the freedom of speech and expressions. Vernacular Act, which was passed by the Britishers, was restricting the public expressions and the speeches. You might be knowing that I have told in the previous video that the Britishers has passed the Vernacular Act, and as per that act, apart from Hindi and English publications, rest publications were made restricted. A censorship was imposed. Now what is censorship? Censorship means when media and other publications are not free to publish without concern of the government. That is what the censorship. So this is how the Congress in the initial 20 years of its formation has demanded this thing, right? Then what happened? Let's see. Now see, beside that, the Congress has raised the issue, economic issue. They made Britishers responsible that if Indian economy system was collapsed, it is just because of British rule. British rule and their exploitive nature, which exploited the nation's resources for the welfare of Britain and the Britishers, lead poverty in our country. And with that, they have made several demands with the British government. They said that the export of food grains to Europe from India has led to food shortage in our country. These are some of the economic issues which Congress has raised. If India is struggling because of the food shortage, and if there is a famine, for that British rule is responsible. How? It was told that the Britain or Britishers, they have export large number of food grains from India to Europe, and as a result here food shortage occurred, and that lead to condition of famine in our country. Besides that, it has shouted for the reduction on revenue. The British government has imposed various kind of revenue on the various food articles, trade, and not only that, collection and use of the resources. Now Congress says that this impose of various kind of taxation is exploiting the country's people, country and its people. So they said that now British need to have a reduction on the taxation so that the people's or the citizens or the Indian conditions should be better. Thirdly, they shouted that whatever the expenditure the British government is doing on keeping the military, that fund need to be reduced. There was a demand of cut military expenditures, as all these lead to economic exploitation of our country. The Congress also showed their concern for the laborers who were taken abroad. You have heard about the indentured laborers. Many Indians, they were picked up and they were taken to different countries to do work. Now, their conditions were not given much care by the British government. They were not allowed to come home. Their salaries were very less. They had to work in the very risky environment. So such concern also Congress has raised with the British government, and they shouted to improvise the condition of those laborers who were working abroad. Besides that, concern of forest dwellers also Congress has shown. It says that the Britishers has imposed various kind of act. You might be knowing about the Forest Act law. This Forest Act law is not allowing the people to enter in the forest and collect the forest resources to fulfill their livelihood. You know, many of the Adivasis community of our country, who are called as the original inhabitant of an area, these peoples were directly or indirectly depending on the forest to fulfill their basic need. Now, passing a Forest Act law not only hit these people, but this law has snatched the bread and butter of the forest dwellers. So Congress has demanded that also, that Britishers need to take care of all this aspect, so that economic conditions of the nation should not be hampered, which was already in severe conditions because of British rule. So in that way, you see, in initial 20 years of Congress formation, Congress has made several demands with the Britishers, but these demands were not fulfilled. Now within the Congress itself, there is some sorts of differences arised. Some leaders of the Congress who were not happy with the development of the request of prayer. They thought that this request of prayer will not help the country to come out from the British rule. So these differences, when arise among the member of the Congress, now the Congress within the party started to have different groups, so-called conservatives and radicals. What happened after the Congress, because of which there was a split among the leaders of the Congress. Some of the radical leaders in the Congress, they come with the idea of Swaraj. What is Swaraj? Swaraj means a country which is governed by its own people. Swa means one's own, Raj means system of administration. That's why Bal Gangadhar Tilak has given a very famous quotation, that is, freedom is my birthright and I shall have it. This is the idea of radicals within the Congress, who said that we must have right to administrate our nation by our own people. And with that idea, some of the leaders who were emerged as radicals and very popular among the masses, they were known as Lal Bal Pal. It means Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Bipin Chandra Pal. So these were the leaders who criticized the Congress and their politics of prayer in 1890. Means Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Bipin Chandra Pal, who were popularly known as Lal Bal Pal in the history, they were not satisfied with the Congress and their approach of what? Politics of prayer. They said that if needed to gain the Swaraj, we can apply force also, we can use force also, because with the prayer the Britishers are not going to give our freedom to India. This is their opinion. That's why they said that, and for Swaraj, people must fight. People must fight for Swaraj. People should know their own strength. People should know the importance of the Swaraj. When these things people realize, then when after realizing that, when people will fight for the Swaraj, then only Swaraj will come to us. In all this process, when there is a lots of confusion within the Congress, because its members who are radicals, they were not convinced with the politics of moderates. No, so the confusion arises. In the meantime, to suppress the uprising movements against the Britishers, the Bengal was partitioned in 1905. Lord Curzon has suggested that the growing popularity of these radicals, and there is a much more uprisings against the Britishers, and the hub of these uprisings is Bengal. So if Bengal will partition from rest of the country, and if it is separated from Bihar and some parts of Odisha, then some uprisings will be controlled. With that idea, in 1905, Bengal was partitioned with the Bihar and parts of Odisha, and it was merged with Assam. Now, this partition was opposed by the Congress and all the leaders throughout the country. Different part of the country this was opposed. People were not satisfied with the partition of Bengal. Against such opposed, a Vande Mataram movement was launched in Andhra Pradesh. The movement which was launched against the partition of Bengal was called as Vande Mataram movement in Andhra Pradesh. After that, in 1906, Muslim League was formed. Now when this Muslim League was formed, Muslim League has supported the partition of Bengal. Okay? Muslim League was formed in Dhaka in 1906, and it supported the Bengal partition. Now, within the Congress itself, radicals, they were not happy with the approach of the Congress, and that's why the Congress were split. The Congress is split with their ideology. Those who believe in the non-violence, no, they remain in the Congress, and those who believe that if we need Swaraj and if needed we can apply force also, they were called as radicals, and the Congress was split in 1907. So this is a new development happened. In 1909, again Muslim League has demanded a separate electoral politics for the Muslims, and seeing that demand, no, some seats were given to Muslims also. Now, in overall development, what we need to understand, how Britishers has divided our people in the name of religion, in the name of caste, in the name of giving some reservation to one community and create a misunderstanding among the Indians they have ruled, right? So, in this way, when these three leaders has arisen, such things were happening, right? Rest of the chapter we will discuss in the next video. Thank you.